Greetings everyone following your request on YouTube. I made the Paragon for the Necromancer build. In order to not spam you of videos, I gathered them in a single one and you'll have the Summoner, the Blood Necromancer and the Bone Spirit Necromancer. Of course, all the articles have been updated and you have the Paragon builder link just below the video in the related articles. So let's start with the summoner, and the first thing that you want to do is reach the next step, because this one you can put this glyph here, it's okay but it's not mandatory, and especially you don't need the additional bonus. So the idea, you can also remove this point, sorry for that, but the idea is that we'll get this node and then we want this legendary power. It will increase your minions damage, and this board will be our main board because you have plenty of bonuses for your minions. So you have here, which is very interesting, it costs just 2 points, so you can take this one. You don't need to take the blue one, but the yellow is interesting. Then you have some damage here for the warrior, here you have it for the mages, and here you have some damage. You can also take the blue one, which will increase either mage damage or warrior damage. You can also put the armor if you want, since your warriors are in melee range, so it's interesting. And then you have the glyph. This one will be very important. The more you put some levels in this glyph, the more it will boost your minions node. So that's why it's very interesting, because you have a minions node here for the damage reduction and this one's for the minion damage. So that's why it's important to take all the minions node just here. Then you'll want to get the next board and we'll have this legendary power. You'll get increased damage by consuming corpse, and you want to take this glyph. This glyph will increase warrior damage. You can also take the mage one, it doesn't matter too much because we'll get this one just here a bit after, but for the warrior you need to have some dexterity around, so it's mandatory for it to have the glyph level 15 in order to have the passives. So you take all the dexterity node in this area, and you also want this one increasing damage to elite. So after that you get to the mage glyph just here, and on your way don't forget to take this passive. It will increase damage if there is no corpse nearby and reduce damage if there are corpse. So for the glyph you want to have intelligence in it, so take all the intelligence nodes that you have, and especially those two, this one increasing damage to injured enemies and this one giving you armor but also 10 intelligence. You also have some interesting nodes, this one increasing critical strike damage and damage to healthy enemies, and this one for the critical damage. For the 15 point you have two choices. Either you can go for some rare node, for example, if you like a bit of shadow resistance, it doesn't cost too much and you can reach here. Otherwise, you can get another board, especially the golem one, so it's this one right here. Make sure to get the legendary power and the golem glyph to finish the paragon. So now let's talk about the Blood Necromancer. This one is a bit more tricky, so make sure to follow the path in order to have the right paragon level up. So first you can ignore all of this and you can directly go to the next board. You want to have this legendary node just here, so you take this one and you get here in order to boost your overpowered damage. You also don't need to unlock the glyph now because you want to have this first glyph, so you get another board just here and you get this glyph. This one will increase your overpowered damage. On your way, don't forget to get this legendary node. It's very important to focus on this one and to put every experience that you have till it's level 15. It's in willpower, so make sure to take every willpower node, and you can of course take the rare node and blue node, which are quite interesting. Once it's done, we go back to the first board just here, and you want to have the fortify glyph. It's also in willpower and it will increase your damage when you are fortified, so make sure to take all the willpower nodes. Then we get to the first board that we added and we'll take this glyph. It will increase damage to enemies affected by curses. It will also boost the magic nodes, so it's interesting to take all the nodes nearby. Then we'll get to our third additional board and we want to have this glyph in order to finish with the last glyph. It will boost the magic nodes and also increase your damage without minions. After that you have plenty of interesting passive, everything here linked to overpower, and this one which will increase damage after taking a blood orb. Also of course don't forget this legendary power in order to get increased damage after picking up a blood orb. Lastly, at the first board we also have very good passive, this one linked to damage and fortify, and this one linked to overpower and damage while healthy. So you can also take all the blue one in order to finish this paragon setup. For the Bone Necromancer, you want first to have this glyph in order to increase damage to cursed enemies. Don't forget to take 40 intelligence, so you have this rare passive, this one and this one, in order to have the additional bonus, and then you want to get this legendary power. It will be very good with the build, of course, and you can have this one which will increase critical chance with bone skills. Before moving to the next board, you want to go this way in order to get the essence passive. Here you have also some bones passives, and you want to reach this glyph which will increase magic node bonuses. So it will be interesting later because you have some magic node which will increase your bone skill damage, so it's good to have this glyph which will boost this kind of nodes. Then you go back to here and you get the second board with the legendary power, this one, and you want to have this glyph which will increase damage to vulnerable enemies. You must have this glyph level 15 in order to have the additional bonus, and then make sure to have this one here and here in order to have the maximum dexterity that you can. Don't forget to also take the rare nodes in order to gain intelligence. Then we get to the last board and the last glyph with this legendary power, and you want to have this glyph in order to boost your damage to crowd control targets. It will work very well with Decrypify. You also want all the intelligence nodes in order to boost its power and everything here because it will increase your damage to allies and also some dexterity for the critical chance. Lastly, you have some interesting rare node, this one which will increase critical strike damage. You have also this one critical strike damage and damage to healthy enemies, and this one also for the critical damage. So in the end you'll have some bone skill damage, critics, essence and so on, and will be a perfect match for your Bone Spirit Necromancer. Thanks for watching this video. I hope that these paragons will help you, and don't forget that you have the link below the video if you want to find the builder.